Indicators are flashing red everywhere, but we don't need to look at these obscure pieces of data. We have to look at the anecdotal evidence. We have to look in our own wallets. And that's where we're going to be able to determine what's really going on. That's where I want to start today. I want to show you what's happening with people piling on the debt. Then we're going to give you a look at what's happening within the economy, the markets, and then I want to talk about artificial intelligence taking your jobs. If you stay to the end, you're going to get that, some information about ChatGPT and others. Let's begin by taking a look at this. Americans in their 30s are piling on debt. You think back decades ago, this kind of thing didn't really happen, and today it seems to be so normal. Overall burden is up more than for any other age group. A lot of people, they had tried to move out of their house, or they did move out of their parents' house. They went into this place where they thought they could afford. Suddenly the debt is piling up. Why? Because of rising interest rates. Keep the rising interest rates in mind. They do talk about the credit card debt that this person is experiencing, the student loans on top of that, and all of this. Now, I'm going to show you a chart in this video that breaks down a lot of that. And just give me a second here while we look at it. Unexpected expense. What happens when you move out and you get into a place? Maybe you're moving from your parents' house into your own house, or maybe you're moving into, let's say, from a condo into a house. A lot of people experienced this cost suddenly. Oh no, an appliance started to go down, the roof started to leak, the problems with the driveway, all these different things added up. And they said, wait a second, I pushed myself to the edge. I don't have that rainy day fund. That's the problem a lot of people are experiencing. You're getting that here in this instance where they're just showing you just a couple examples. You could see the change in total debt from 3 years ago, and certainly that has risen considerably. A lot of people really ignored this, that, oh, it's okay, interest rates are low, I'll be able to afford it. And I've been here screaming saying, well, eventually interest rates have to increase. But a lot of people denied that that would happen. Why? Of course it has to. It's a cycle. This has to come to fruition at some point. That's what we're dealing with. Burned out, more Americans are turning to part-time jobs. Now, I think this is a little bit misleading. And that's kind of why I wanted to show this to you. The number of people working part-time rose by 1.2 million in December and January. Most were people who chose it. 25 hours is the new 35 hours. Now they're saying that they chose this at the same time they have way too much debt and are unable to afford their bills. It's unusual. For a lot of people, they do not want to choose to work part-time. They just can't get any more hours. Or they're working a full-time job, but they're also working a part-time job. And so that's where the numbers get skewed. And that's why I bring this information to you, because you're going to see that headline. Oh, they're choosing to work it. They have so much money left over that they don't need to work a full-time job. Is that really the case? Do you think so? Let me know. Put it in the comment section. I would really like to know what you think about this. You could see part-time work is exploding. The number of Americans working part-time rose by 1.2 million in December and January compared with the preceding months. Okay, you could look at the data. It's there for you, but it's interpreted how you wish. The total number of people working part-time voluntarily, 22 million in January, is almost 6 times the 4 million who were working part-time but prefer full-time hours. That's the highest ratio in 2 decades. So they move on. Point here is that a lot of people today are working part-time jobs. I believe, my personal belief, is that they're working this part-time job in addition to a full-time job for a lot. We see the Uber drivers, we see Uber Eats delivery, things that are happening today that didn't really even exist just a few years ago. So now we're in a different world. Look here. I wanted to show you what's happening as a result of all this inflation, the rising interest rates, everything that's occurred up until this point. We have a very basic fundamental analysis, which is the top 1% of income earners versus the bottom 50% of income earners. And you could see where the wealth is. Okay. Before, we would have an instance in that you could have your family, you're taking care of your family, one single income, it's not a problem. You can have the 2 cars, you can have a car, you can have a house, you can have the two kids in school. There really wasn't a concern. Now today, it's only for becoming slowly, or I should say quickly, becoming a problem for everybody. The middle class is really being evaporated. And then you look at what's happening with the markets. These people who are in the know, let's say the 1%, the people in the financial establishment, these people are doing something different right now. Look, increased insider selling and S&P valuation are waving big yellow flags. Insiders have been very active sellers over the past several sessions in the face of a declining market. So insiders start selling, that should tell you something. There are many different indicators you can look at. Okay, fine. But when you just see that, hesitation coming from the insiders, it shows us that, okay, maybe this is starting to slow down here, because the insiders know exactly what's going to happen with the stock buybacks, and they know what's going to happen with the development of the company. So we have to watch that. This should be a warning sign to everybody that maybe we're at a near-term top. We've already come down from that point. Looking at what's happening, I show you this because of what's going on with the middle class, not because of the top 1%. They really don't feel this. But price changes. I could zoom in a little bit so you could see it better. But from the year 2000, that's where this starts. And then up until the present, you can see the price changes of consumer goods and services. Broadly speaking, price levels have increased by 74% since 2000. But you look at it, break it down, it's a lot different. It depends. Your level of inflation depends on what services you use. For instance, hospital services. Maybe since 2000, hopefully, you have not needed to use the hospital services. So the fact that it's gone up way over 200% since then is not going to affect you at all. College tuition and fees. Maybe you didn't go to college, maybe your kids didn't go, or you don't have kids, what have you. You didn't experience that 175% increase. College textbooks, medical care service, childcare, all down the list. However, maybe you bought a new flat screen TV that has gone down over this period. Toys, software, cell phone services, and so on. So these things right here, over these years, you could see what has happened. And that all relates to what you, the individual, experience. That's my whole point about this. It's that if you are the one that's buying this stuff, you feel the inflation. Why is this the case? It's all based around supply and demand fundamentals, certainly, but we must not forget about what the central banks have done, what the government has done. Where that money goes sometimes is very hard to know, because it's going to be thrown out there left and right. Sometimes it could be a housing bubble. Other times it could be a stock market bubble. It could be cryptocurrencies and so on. Watch very carefully and what they do. Landlords face crisis as mortgage costs surge higher than rents. Big problem right now because of the payments that landlords have to make. And some people would say, you know what? Who cares about the landlords? They're rich. They don't have to worry about anything. But what people don't understand is these landlords, you're going to probably, in most cases, you're going to appreciate the small guy more than the big businesses like Blackstone that come in and they do not care about you at all. They don't reason. They'll kick you out on the street, and that's just the way it goes. The big businesses, they've got their lawyers, they've got their henchmen, they'll take care of business. The small guy, maybe, if you get a good landlord, maybe it's not going to be such an issue. So watch out, be careful what you wish for. That's what they say. This is the most important chart in the world. This is part of what I call the money mirror method, which essentially takes the stock market, compares it to the balance sheet of the central banks. In this case here, we're looking at the S&P 500 mirrored with the Federal Reserve balance sheet. And clearly, over the years, these two have been linked at the hip. Some people say, no, it's just that's not the way it's, no, I don't believe it. They just talk nonsense. Look at it. It's very clear. And whenever they start to pull back on all of their activities, what happens to the markets? It certainly reflects that. If you print more money, this is the takeaway. If you print more money and you ease financial conditions, markets can go up, vice versa. This is very clear. I've made this connection many times, and yet people, they're looking out there for the answers. Where are the answers? How do I know? The money mirror method. It's very simple. Okay? The Fed's own economists are ringing the recession alarm and warning stocks and real estate prices could tumble. This comes from the Federal Reserve, not from Jerome Powell, of course, but you do get this, on some occasions where there'll be a report here or there. The staff still view the possibility of a recession sometime this year as a plausible alternative to the baseline, saying, yes, it is possible that we could see a recession coming in around this time, okay? Bond King Jeffrey Gundlach tells investors to prepare for recession, warns against trying to prevent a downturn. He was basically saying that what they're doing right now, tightening, it's too much. They should have acted way earlier. They should have stopped earlier as well. They didn't do this. They're going to cause a recession. Look out below. That's what he's saying. We'll see what happens. The bond market is clearly signaling a recession right now, and yet we're going to ignore it? Well, we'll see. A one-way market foils stock pickers as Fed trounces everything. Remember, the money mirror method doesn't fool you. The money mirror method doesn't lose. And that's because what you see right now is that the markets rely on one thing. If they're not going to get the stimulus checks from the government and trillions being thrown out here and there, they absolutely require the Federal Reserve to be easing financial conditions, lowering interest rates, printing more money. But we're not in that zone right now. We're in the exact opposite. As a result, you look at what happens in the markets, things are getting tight. With the easy money gone, executives tighten their belts by slashing dividends. Intel was one of them that had a major cut to their dividend recently. And you look at that as a result. They're not going to give dividends. They'll rather do stock buybacks. They'll rather do stock buybacks to keep the price elevated so that the people within the company, the executives, the directors, and so on, they can still get their paydays, okay? Because that's how they operate. A lot of them, they don't make that much money. They make a small sum, but they get their payday based on the stock performance. So if they could push the stock up, or at least keep it to certain levels elevated, then they're going to get payment, okay? So what do you think they're going to favor? The dividends, or are they going to favor the buybacks? This is what they do. Warren Buffett said, well, I love buybacks. Anybody who says that they don't love buybacks, they don't know what they're talking about, okay? And then looking at the next aspect, which is about artificial intelligence. Some companies are already replacing workers with ChatGPT despite warnings it shouldn't be relied on for anything important. Okay, this is beta, obviously, and it has many flaws. There's no doubt about that, and the company makes it clear. However, the companies are saying, how do we increase productivity? How do we reduce cost? This is what they're doing right now. They are using artificial intelligence to get rid of people wherever they can. Simple matter of fact. In fact, the IBM chief says it might be a good thing that robots will replace a ton of white-collar jobs. That's the world we live in right now. And why? Why is that the case? Well, for a lot of people, they look at this and they say, ChatGPT, artificial intelligence, robots, all these things will never replace humans. But we do over time. What he's saying in this is that this is a good thing. We could focus on more important tasks. Certainly, absolutely. The problem here is that when you look at it, think about it. How fast these things are accelerating is much faster than, it's not a generation. It's not as if, okay, my kids are going to need to deal with this in the future, so they'll have to handle that. That's not a problem. I can continue in my profession. People that are in these professions right now are going to be disrupted by what technology is coming out. That's my message for today. Retrain if you can. There are many courses to take. If you look at it, I have a really quick video that explains where to get free education from all the top universities. If you search the Money GPS free courses online. I think that should come up. It's one of a short, I did a short based on that, and I explain it. I give you the name of the website, which I can't remember off the top of my head. This is important. You look at that, you can learn from it, you can get the information you need so that you stay relevant, so that you stay ahead of the curve as we go into these difficult economic times. I hope this information was important to you, valid for you. If it was, don't forget to hit that like button on the way out. That helps me, that supports me. Only less than 10% of people do that, and I do appreciate those who do. Thank you very much. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.